determined to get it. A crumb might have been all she could get. But she knew that a crumb from his hand, a crumb from his table, was worth more than 10 loaves of bread. So she was willing to take the crumb. So she was more than willing in this moment to reduce herself to dog status to get what she wanted.
Yeah, dog status. Come on now.
Because as she's in her kneeling position, on her knees, if I have to beg and plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, cause it means that much to me. Ain't too proud to beg. You understand? He called her a dog, but she still wasn't too proud to beg. How many people will be called a dog, and then the next thing you do is get down on your knees? So, she is desperate, traumatized. This woman has watched demons ruin her daughter's life. The word does not tell us how long it went on, but an hour is too long. Jesus is now the only thing standing between her and that demonic spirit that will release his hold off of her daughter. She watched and cried for too long as her daughter's body became a dwelling place for evil spirits, causing all sorts of trauma in her baby. Fits of rage, convulsions, compulsions, eating disorders, perversions, addictions, violence, self-mutilation, and suicidal thoughts have been running amok, not just in her baby, but in her house. And I can imagine that it ran through her because she did say, Lord, have mercy on me. And let me say this, just because you see us coming, and just because you see us and we're the one that has come to God, doesn't mean we're not hurt. It doesn't mean we're not going through. It doesn't mean that whatever your problem is has not now become my problem. Just because I'm the strong one and I was able to make it to Jesus, doesn't mean I'm not bringing some pain. Doesn't mean I'm not bringing some baggage. Doesn't mean I'm not bringing some worry. But now here she is. Lord, she said, have mercy on me. So now, Jesus says, yes. I can't help you. I recollected myself here as I too have been desperate. I could hear her saying, I'm desperate. You don't understand. I can't sleep. I can't take my eyes off my daughter. Just leaving her now to come to you is a huge thing for me, because I don't know when I get back home if she'll be there because of what I've been going through. I imagine she had bags under her eyes, and I imagine that she was at the lowest point she's ever been in her life, and she's doing everything that she can to get to the Lord and get him to understand, to help her. And I cannot think of a single instance that Jesus ever lost a battle. And if you know your word, you know Jesus on many occasions had some verbal interactions and altercations with some heavy hitters. If you know, time after time, the brightest and the best. Let me see, there were Pharisees, there were rabbis, there were scribes. They came to him and they asked him some very big questions. They always were testing him. They were trying to trip him up. And time after time, he sent them away with their tail between their legs. And that's the way it has always worked, except for this time. When Jesus said it is not appropriate to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. Oh my goodness, this Canaanite woman knew she was his child. She didn't just verbalize it. In that moment, her posture gave it life. She's already on her knees, and now she bows. Her worship is so intense that she's seen no longer as anything other than his daughter. Her worship so intense that he doesn't even see her as a Canaanite anymore. Her desperate worship, her pleading worship, her begging worship has altered her heart and her appearance. I imagine her adrenaline is flowing and her hair is askew and her clothes are a little disheveled and dirty from the trip, as well as falling down prostrate at his feet. She had no offense. She harbored no resentment. She had no no shame. She had no regret. She had no embarrassment. She had no anger about her situation. And now in this moment, she has him. She has bested him in this dialogue. This is the only time in the Word of God that we will find that this happens. Because her faith, her pleas, her begging, her worship now has dismantled any and all limitations. It is here in her humility and in her posture that she receives a wait a minute from God. Because now that she's on her face, bowing before him, he can't help but tell her, wait a minute, daughter. Now I gotta bless you because you came. You weren't too proud to beg. You weren't too proud to plead. I'm not gonna leave you. I'm not gonna let you go. Somebody in here that knows what I'm talking about. Give God a wave. Oh, thank you, Lord. I think Jesus was excited to be bested right here. He was delighted. You don't believe me? I have receipts. Because he said to her, woman, great is thy faith. He needed her faith. That's all he needed. It didn't matter that she was outside of the parameter of where she was supposed to be. But once she bowed down, once she worshiped, once she changed her posture, then everything changed. And so he's now excited because he has given her what she wants simply because of her faith. Jesus loved it so much that her daughter was healed that hour right away. Now Matthew, I told you, intentionally writes that the daughter was healed right away. And the reason why he wanted us to understand this, because Jesus was there on purpose. He was looking for an opening because now he had to reconcile his responsibilities to the Jews and his love for this Gentile woman. I believe he was looking for an opportunity to answer this woman's request, to have mercy on her. But I don't know about you, but I can talk about myself. But I, like the Canaanite woman, should have been dismissed from his presence a long time ago. But because of his mercy, when I cried and when I told him, I said, I know you want to leave me, but you refused to let me go. And when I said that to him, he gave me his word back. He said, daughter, I never said that I wanted to leave you. He said, I said in my word, I would never leave you, nor would I forsake you. And because of his word, no matter what I do, no matter what I get into, if I humble myself, if I get my posture right, if my heart is right, God will come and he'll take care of me. Oh, you sitting there like you don't know what I'm talking about. Somebody in this place, somebody in this house has been there. If I have to beg and plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, cause it means that much to me. Ain't too proud to beg. Who been there? I ain't too proud to. I ain't too proud to. I ain't too proud. I ain't too proud. Listen, now, the second verse of that song says, now I've heard a crying man. It's half a man with no sense of pride. Woo, they don't know what they wrote. Because God hates pride. So it says a half a man that cries, no sense of pride. But if I have to cry to keep you, I don't mind weeping, CJ. That will keep you by my side. So I put down my pride. I put down my arrogance. this dress. I don't care about these pumps. I don't care about these pantyhose. All I care about is that he heard me, my God. All I care about is he knows I don't mind crying. He knows I don't mind begging. He knows I don't mind pleading. He knows that if I think that he's gonna leave me, I'll do whatever I got to do. So when he's flying by in the airwaves, I gotta reach up and I got to grab it. When he's in this place dwelling, I got to make sure that my posture is such that he won't pass me by. I heard somebody say, Savior, Savior, do not pass me by. I'm begging, I'm pleading, I'm crawling, I may be tired, I may be weary, but I trust you. I'm coming. Help me, help me. Heal my child, heal my marriage, heal my money, heal my church, heal my family. God, I need you. I know you're there. Now you say, daughter, I can't help but to bless you. That's what's wrong with us. We got too much pride. I don't like to cry in front of other people. Well, let it hit you real bad. And I bet those tears will begin to flow. So, that's all right. See, she's getting. She ain't too proud to beg. She ain't too proud to plead. Please don't leave me, Lord Jesus. Don't you go nowhere. Every prayer, situation, or request that you make of God will not always be a beg or a plead. But when all else has failed, will your pride win or will your faith win? How will we go to God determines our results. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to give you my last receipt. Over in Luke 11, Jesus is teaching. This is what he said. He said, suppose you went to a friend's house at midnight, wanting to borrow 3 loaves of bread. We're back to crumbs. You say to him, a friend of mine has just arrived for a visit, and I have nothing for him to eat. And suppose he calls out from his bedroom, don't bother me. My door is locked for the night, and my family and I are all in bed. I can't help you. You've come too late. Oh my goodness. But I tell you this, though he won't do it for friendship's sake, if you keep knocking long enough, he will get up and give you whatever you need because of your shameless persistence. So I tell you, church, keep on asking and you'll receive what you ask. Keep on seeking and you definitely will find it. Keep on knocking and the door will be opened. The Lord of glory surrendered to the faith of this woman. She kept asking until she received. She kept seeking until she found it. She kept knocking until he opened his door. And when you pray and there's not an immediate answer, I don't want you to think that God is deaf. I don't want you to think that God can't hear. But I want you to understand he doesn't want you to grovel at his feet before him. But what he wants you to do is to understand faith. And sometimes faith causes us to plead. Because if I keep asking enough, that means I believe that you have it. If I keep asking enough, I know you can give it to me. I wouldn't come to you and ask nothing of you if I know you couldn't give me nothing. nothing. But here we are, and I can believe that everybody in the Word of God that came to him pleading and begging, he gave them what they asked. If you think about it, he healed the centurion servant on a plead. He healed the official's son on a plead. And even the legion pleaded with him to throw them down into the swine. And he gave them what they asked for. So I dare somebody today to get in plead mode. Beg, plead. If it doesn't matter, why can't you? What do you have to lose? Beg, plead for his sympathy. So, my biggest need can be met with a crumb.
Yes.
The biggest need you have can be met with his crumb from his table. If you come to my house today and I give you a crumb, it won't do nothing. But you go to his table, get a crumb, you'll have more than enough. You'll never go hungry. So, before I leave you, I need to bring this thing home. And as I was studying, and I read this, I went over a story in my head that I love in the Bible. The woman with the issue of blood. Do you know that story? 12 years she suffered. 12 years blood flowed out of her body. 12 years she had no strength. She had no color in her face. She started out wealthy, but she gave all that she had to every physician that she thought could heal her. Oh, but one day, in her desperation, I can imagine she went home, she shut the door. She said, I'm done. But I thank God that she kept her ear to the ground because she heard that Jesus was passing by. And just like our Canaanite, she figured, this might be my last chance, Mr.
Yes.
So what did she do? She could have been stoned. She could have been killed because you're not supposed to come out of your house. In the Bible days, when you're bleeding, you're considered unclean. You're considered vile. You're considered nasty. But Nene, she went anyway. And I imagine she put in her earbuds. I'm assuming she had some Dr. Dre beats. She put them in. She hit a playlist. She heard David Ruffin saying, I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. She didn't know a whole lot about him, but she knew what she heard. So she said, if I got to beg, if I got to plead, I don't mind, because this healing means that much to me. So, if you go back to the Canaanite woman, two things about these women, thank you, Holy Ghost. Two things about these women mirror each other. They both were prostrate.
All right now. All right. Yes.
Like the Canaanite, I'm willing to be a dog to get my blessing, Sister Tari. I'm willing to be the dog. Then we have the woman with the issue. Kiki, she said, if I could just touch. Just the bottom. That's all. Just this little piece. If I could touch it. So in order for her to touch it, and I studied this a couple years ago, and it says that most of her journey she had to crawl. You know why? Because nobody could see her. She didn't want anybody to see her bleeding. She didn't want to have an accident. And so she was prostrate. And when she saw him pass by, I can imagine that she began to take that little bit of energy that she had left. And she drug herself along the dusty ground. And she was able to touch him. And if you really study, she didn't touch the hem of his garment. She touched the belt that was hanging off of him. And so she was able to touch it. And because she was down there, Quina, in the dog position, and she was on her knees, JR, and she was humbled in her spirit, prostrate in her stature, God said, I'm going to bless her because of her obedience, because of her faithfulness. She didn't care that in him stood up and he said, who touched me? And everybody said, Master, all these people, are you serious? But he said the virtue left my body because she wasn't too proud to beg. He felt her faith because she wasn't too proud to plead. He felt her faith. All of a sudden, just like the daughter was healed of the demon, she was healed of her infirmity. She got up, she dusted off, she walked back home like nothing had ever happened. She wasn't weak, she wasn't bleeding, full of strength, full of healing. She went away, Loretta. It didn't matter what they thought. I'm healed. I'm running. I'm walking. I'm leaving. Ain't too proud. Some of y'all sitting. I don't care if you get up. You don't have to preach anyway. When God called me D, I said I'm gonna give it all I got. And nobody ever say nothing. Because I'm doing it for him. So some of y'all sitting there, you too proud. And you're gonna stay in that place that you always been in. But I dare somebody that has faith like the Canaanite woman. Somebody that has faith like the woman with the issue of blood. I dare you to get up on your feet and look up toward heaven and tell the Lord, God, I ain't too proud to beg. I ain't too proud to plead. If I gotta beg, if I gotta plead for the blessing, for the miracle, for the sympathy, I don't mean because it and you mean that much to me. Come on, come on, come on. Okay, before I cut out, I was looking at this table. And I thought about being at home one day. Pastor wasn't there. And I started counting. I said, May, no, April, May, June, July, August. I said, 5 months, God. My husband doesn't have a job. 5 months, God. Probably 500-600 applications. People weren't calling him back. So I sat down. I began to pray. Within a matter of seconds, my prayer turned into a plead. After the plead, it turned into a beg. And I told the Lord, I said, it's not like we haven't been here before. I said, but because of who you are, I said, I got to look at my resume. Pastor taught about the resume, a long, long time ago. That sermon never left me. So I had to go over my resume. And Kiki, in my resume, I had to look back to 1986 when you did this for me. 1987, you did that for me. 1990, you came on back and you did something miraculous. And then over in 1992, you came and you blessed me real good. God, I remember the day that I didn't think I was gonna make it. I was down to my last dime. I didn't know where the money was coming from. I remember when we didn't have groceries and I had to make us ketchup sandwiches. And I thought about the time that we had an air mattress because we couldn't afford a bed. And we were playing with some knives that had just come in the mail. And Pastor threw it up and it hit the mattress. And the mattress exploded. And we put tape on it. And we continued to sleep. But then I remember that I said, God, I need you to give us what we need, not what we want. is in a situation right now.